Hi, everyone. Welcome to the latest episode of the Power Within podcast. My name is Trevor Evers. I'm your host. And this week, I have on a great guest. Her name is Rosie Callaghan. Rosie is originally from County Donegal, and she is a clinical hypnotherapist. She's extremely passionate about mental wellness, and her motto is, "Life is for living today," which is fantastic. Rosie, it's great to have you on the podcast. How are you, Rosie, today?
I'm great. Thanks, Trevor, for inviting me on. Delighted to be here.
You're very welcome. I've just gone through just a brief kind of synopsis about yourself. Would you like to tell us a little bit more about how you got into hypnosis and the work that you do?
Yeah, I can. It all started for me, my whole hypnotic journey that I was aware of anyway, the conscious part of it was almost 13 years ago. And I bought a Groupon for quit smoking. I don't know if I've told many people that, but anyway, there it is. It's out there. So I bought a Groupon for €60, and it was for a quit smoking session with a lovely gentleman called Stephen Millard, who since has passed away, but I think of him a lot because that was the start of my journey. So I went along to him here in Blackrock in Dublin, spent 2 hours with him, and I've never, ever entertained a cigarette since. Would never even want it, or like it completely lost the urge. So I remember, like, of course, I didn't tell anyone that I was going to a hypnotist. You know,
Right.
you don't
Yeah,
tell
you
people these
don't.
things.
Yeah.
You book it and you say nothing until you know it works. So anyway, that was my thinking at the time. So I totally understand when people ring me.
Yeah, yeah.
So yeah, that was the start of it, and spent 2 hours with him, and that was the start of the change for my life, because I thought, okay, he has in 2 hours taken away the urges. He's accessed a part of my mind. I don't even think I ever wrote the word subconscious at that stage to actually think about it. It wasn't something I was ever aware of. And at that stage, I think it was about 31. So that's like 31 years of not being aware of that part of the mind that's actually running everything. So that was the start. And I thought, right, what else could he do? What could he do that could help me feel better in myself, you know? So that was the start of it. And then seven
Brilliant.
years ago, so I trained with the ICH then, the Institute of Clinical Hypnotherapy of Ireland, with Carl Anthony Curtis, and with the lovely Derek Delaney training us as well. And I was really blessed to have stumbled across one of their Facebook ads, and it was just for an introductory offer. And I think I paid 20 quid for it. Thought, right, grabbed a friend, off we went,
Brilliant.
and it blew my mind that weekend. And I was blown away. So that was the start of it. Trained and have been going since. That's about 7 years ago now. Yeah.
Brilliant. And you're hooked
Oh,
at that
totally
point.
hooked. Yeah, you know those little light bulb moments. Like every single month when we went to training with Carl, he'd say something, and like another one would drop. You know, it just made sense, because we all have a subconscious mind, but we haven't a clue how to operate it, unless you've been shown. And
Yeah.
then it's just so freeing to be at that other side now and being able to control. You know, like say something happens, someone's been obnoxious or something, right? And you just go, well, I wonder what happened in their life. You know, what happened the first 7 or 8 or 9 years of their life? And like, it's
Yeah.
not that you're going to dwell on it, but having that understanding and compassion for other people, you can't buy that. And I just think hypnotherapy has given that to me. And that's why I do what I do, to help people understand nothing in life is personal.
Exactly. Exactly. And I see from reading your website that you're a former music teacher as well. So you've always had that creative aspect of to you.
Yeah, yeah. I taught for nearly 10 years before I had the kids. The kids are 10 and 8 now. So I went off on maternity leave 10 years ago, and I never went back. But I taught in a private girls' school here in South Dublin, and I had all the classes from third class up to Leaving Cert and choir. So it could have been kindergarten, 1 and 2 at the start of the week. And you've seen everybody every week. And in between, I had to give singing lessons, piano lessons, and choirs and orchestra and all that. So Yeah, there were no two classes the same throughout the week. It was busy, but it was something I I don't know. I'd say most people maybe who are listening to this might be able to relate to this. You know, when you feel like you really want to help people. Like years ago, I remember my mum joking, going, well, I don't think she was joking. You'd be a great nun. I remember going, not a hope. Not a hope. But you know the way, like, you're talking 30 years ago. But anyway, I shouldn't say that publicly, really. But, you know, like, because I did think, but that was never my calling. And then I thought, okay, so what I was doing for those 10 years was teaching. I went and studied, did my HDip down in Limerick after the music degree, and I taught kids music. So I was instilling that love for music in kids, and that was helping. Because
Yeah.
like their parents used to love it, like, oh my gosh, she loves coming into your lessons, and like you could be chatting for half the time. You were nearly like a counselor as well, but you were teaching them, and it was so much more than just teaching them their scales, and there's a lot more to that. So I think that's how I was helping people. But the day that I got hypnotized for quit smoking, I remember thinking, wow, that was like what he gave me there was priceless. Like
Yeah.
my health, you know, I'm going to have better health now and so on, and having control of the mind. So then after that, then when I saw, you know, in the training room, what you can do for anxiety and depression and all these things, that to me then was right. I got so much out of the training alone that I wanted to help people then with that. So that was that passion for helping people. Maybe I don't know, did I misinterpret it, or I don't know. It's been there. It's been there all along, and that's what you'll know yourself as well down in Waterford. Like you've got to have that passion to help people and want to do it. You know.
Absolutely. Absolutely. You know, I trained myself in 2010 with the NGH in Cork, and I remember when, you know, even after the first day of doing the training, you kind of knew this is for me.
Yeah.
I had that, you know, that moment that you had. And once I qualified as a certified hypnotherapist with the NGH, was very much in the first couple of years kind of breaking down, dismantling the myths that people have, the misconceptions about hypnosis.
Mm.
You know, a lot of my friends at times, oh, don't look into my eyes and stuff like that. Where I'm sure you got a little bit of that as well.
Oh yeah, I have a brother who says, "You still
Yeah.
doing that hocus pocus stuff?" I say, "I am."
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You get it, like, yeah.
Yeah, you get it. But not so much, I mean, not so much now, because more philosophical now, in the sense of, you know, if people are really interested in the work that I do, they'll ask me. And if somebody has an opinion about hypnosis, it's long gone the day, folks, that I'm going to try and convince anyone otherwise, you know. But in the
Yeah,
early days, I remember, you know, try to convince people of the merits of it and what it was. But of
yeah,
course, people have to be open and ready to receive a message. Otherwise, there's no point. And
yeah,
I think that's one of the biggest challenges, even now, that us hypnotherapists face. That, you know, I think it's changing slowly. That
yeah.
the public's view on the work that we do is being more kind of normalized, if you like, rather than
Mm.
kind of something that is scary.
Yeah, and I think thanks to people like yourself who are doing these podcasts as well, it gives people an insight, isn't it, into like just a hypnotherapist can be just a normal person. Like I'm just, and I shouldn't say just to, like I'm a mother of two and living a normal life. Like it's not this crazy stuff like you're putting spells on people, or you know, it's just you're just helping people access their minds. There's, you know, it's actually it's quite simple when you understand what we do. Um, yeah, yeah. And I was going to
Absolutely.
say something else there. I can't remember. Just
Well, in the early days, because I was kind of that, I wanted everybody to be clued in to the truth about hypnotherapy and all the benefits that you can gain from it. Because I've always said that if everyone knew what hypnosis could do, everyone would want it, you know.
yeah.
And I've given over 50 public information talks down here in the Southeast area just about a simple hypnosis presentation as to what it is, a little bit of the history of it, and that, of course, is something that everyone experiences in their everyday lives, folks. I'm sure if you daydream or been lost in a thought, lost in a moment, lost in a song, highway hypnosis, there's so many different examples that we can give, isn't there, about how we in everyday life can experience that hypnotic feeling.
Yeah, like even if you're driving and you can't remember,
Yes.
like me going from Dublin to Donegal, I might blank the whole way to Cavan. I shouldn't say that either, but yeah, but you're in a trance the whole time, but you're 2 to 3 times more alert in hypnosis. I had this conversation with someone recently and they're like, yeah, that freaks me out when that happens because I could have crashed. I'm like, no, you were 2 to 3 times more alert. You definitely were in a safe spot. Like you're totally engrossed. It's just mad. Actually, it's funny when I remember what I was going to say there, and it was that you were saying you spent so much time, I suppose, educating people, which is brilliant, doing the 50 talks you did on what hypnosis is. But yeah, those early days, I do remember being just buzzing, absolutely buzzing. I couldn't wait to tell it, be ringing X, Y, and Z on the way home. Guess what we did today? Oh my God. And I'd be telling them. But they're like, they weren't in hypnosis 10 times that day, in and out, or in these trances, or seeing, but it can be a lonely experience as well, because they still haven't been hypnotized. So they're still on the hamster wheel as well. I find that's a huge thing. I find now as a hypnotherapist that I am standing out, looking in. But that doesn't mean I'm not connected. I'm still connected. And in fact, I probably have better relationships now than I did when I've let go of all the crap. But it's when you step out and you can see people are operating on their programming, whether it's negative or positive, and it's just repeat it. And
that's right.
Things experience, hurt, anger, frustration over time, overreacting to what somebody says, they're all still stuck in this. And it's very sad. And I suppose we're always trying to take one out of the hamster wheel at a time and, try and help them actually see the bigger picture, that nothing is personal. The other thing you said there about the talks that you gave, I did that when I started out here. I did it here in Cabinteely, and then I did another one in Canada. I spent 2 years in Canada as well,
Right.
2018 to 2020, and I set up Ontario Hypnosis over there.
Very
And
good.
had that going for 2 years, and then I came back home. It was 2020, so that was when the weight loss clinic then was my number one thing. But I remember getting up and talking in front of all these Canadians, and there wasn't even many was there. There was probably about 15, maybe. It wasn't a huge crowd, but I just had that passion to share with them. There's 15 Canadians that didn't know, they didn't know about it, so now they do.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's kind of our job, isn't it, to promote a little bit more our field.
Yeah, absolutely true. And it's not there yet, but I think that we've come a long way from 2010. I still think there's more work to do in educating the public about the work that we do.
Yeah, and the way to do that, I suppose, is the fact that we've got to be doing podcasts and even TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, all those sort of lovely social media things that you see us all doing. That's where people are online. And I remember dreading Facebook Lives and going online like that. But now it's sort of, if you don't, you're doing an disservice. And that's where my mind has gone now. If you're not out there telling people about it, then they don't know about it. We didn't know about it. I didn't know about it until I was 31. So how many people are just not, because we're not talking about it. So yeah, there's my social media rant for the day now. Everybody get out and talk about it, because it's the most wonderful profession. I feel blessed every day that I stumbled across that ad, whether it was the Groupon ad or the Institute, the ICH ad, because it's life-changing. And that's something as well, I say, you introduced me there with Life is for Living Today. I explain or describe having been hypnotized and getting to the root cause of any lack of self-worth that I was having. That's where I hit my chapter 2. Chapter 1 was up to that point. And there was the
Right.
start of chapter 2. It's so powerful when you can actually feel self-worth, feel good enough as you are. It's just amazing. And I suppose that's really why I do what I do, to give people that self-worth, because we're all equal. And it's just so sad, the amount of people that just don't feel that. Whatever went on in the first 10 years of their lives and since. But people have been robbed of that. So I feel that's my job. I keep saying for the next 20 years, but I'm qualified 7 years now and I'm still saying 20 years. That's what
Yeah.
I intend doing. I will never be looking at another job or a career or anything like that. This is just something I do now. It doesn't feel like work. That makes sense.
Oh, absolutely makes sense. I've been there, done that,
You're
worn the
doing it.
t-shirt with it.
Yeah,
Because,
yeah.
I have a former career in the corporate world as a quality engineer. And sometimes it can be kind of scary, like when you do kind of a degree in something completely different, the 90s, where like you kind of didn't know any better. And, when you finish your leaving cert, like when you're 17, you don't know what you want in life or where you want to go.
Clue. Yeah.
It's just like getting a pin and just sticking it in okay, that course sounds good, and give it a go. Um,
Yeah.
because
Actually,
you
it's
have enough
funny.
points to do it, like you just scraped enough points for it or whatever.
I know,
But
and it must be a good course if it's got high points, but sure, it
well,
mightn't
that's it,
be
yeah.
you at all. Like, and I'm not seeing you. Yeah, it's funny when you say
Yeah.
that. So I did my music degree down in Cork for 4 years, but I had PE as my number one. Like PE,
Right.
they were my things. Basketball, music, and they still are. Basketball, music,
Yeah,
and setter dogs. They're my three passions. And I should say family and kids,
yeah.
obviously that goes without saying. But
Yeah, yeah.
they're my three things. So it was PE and I missed it. And I went there, like, I remember getting a D1 in my German, and if I had a C3 in it, I'd be, well, I don't know, I wouldn't be on the same path I'm on anyway. So everything happens for a reason. If I did become a PE teacher, maybe I never would have fallen into hypnotherapy. So I went to Cork and had a great time, did a music degree in that. It was great fun. But yeah, you don't know. Like when you're 18, you haven't a clue.
Oh,
And as well, a thing with our profession, you gotta live some life, don't you, before you become a hypnotherapist. You don't just
you do.
to hypno school like when you're 18. You've got to feel, I presume most of us have, we have felt some degree of emotional pain. And when we see the help that hypnosis has given us, then we pass that on. That's what I feel has happened to me anyway. I'm presuming most people are, like any therapist, no matter whether it's hypnotherapy or whatever they're doing, you must have gotten some sort of healing, and then you want to help other people.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We've been there, done that, worn the t-shirt, and it's great when our clients come in that we can resonate with their experiences, that we're not just waving a piece of paper, oh, look, I'm qualified in this, that you have life experience as well, and that you know how it feels to be at a low ebb, for example, and
Mm,
that we're human and that we've made mistakes, but we
yeah.
use these wonderful techniques that can help us in so many ways.
Yeah, and that making mistakes one is just golden. Every single client I would have, I would be talking about the making mistakes, how we're all human. So, like, say in the weight loss clinic, so that's where I do the 6 weeks on Zoom. So I take a group of people for 6 weeks and hypnotize them every week. So they would get lots of positive suggestions in there as well. And the main one would be that making mistakes. So when you understand that, like that, because that was a huge light bulb moment for me as well, because you're trying to be perfect. Now, I'd be nowhere near
Mhm.
perfect. Don't get me wrong. I'm not. If any of my friends are
Yeah.
watching this, I wouldn't be a perfectionist. I've gone the other
Yeah.
extreme, like, Asher, whatever. It's grand. And it's a lovely place to be because I genuinely do not care what anybody thinks of me. I genuinely, like, of course, it might seem contradictory, right? Because I bothered to do my hair. I put on a bit of makeup. I'm coming on a
Yeah,
podcast, right?
yeah,
Like, but like that's just because that's what you do when you're out there online and you're being professional. At the end of the day, I'm
yeah.
representing my business as well. But I genuinely don't feel that anyone in the world is better than me. And I don't feel that I'm better than anyone. It's pure equality. So when the clients come in, it's lovely to, like, it's such a common theme, lack of self-worth, isn't it? Where they feel that other people are better than them and they're not deserving of things. And it's great when you flick that switch and they're just loving themselves again. You know, it's golden. That would be a
Yeah,
big thing I would. And for
absolutely.
anyone that might be listening to this, Trevor, who could be starting out and, you know, maybe they've just qualified as hypnotherapists and they're going out into their own clinics, it is, don't ever underestimate the direct suggestion you can give them after, you know, towards the end of a session, putting stuff in, the positive suggestions in, because one simple sentence can change their whole outlook. It's so powerful when you've got them in that just right where you need them, and you just say a couple of little powerful things. It can change their life, and I know that because it worked for me as
Absolutely true.
well.
And as we mentioned already, you know, there's a number of different examples of hypnosis in everyday life. And one of the biggest ones I find is what people tell themselves. And that's so important because when our clients come into us, ideally, I mean, if they're at the threshold where they want to make the change, fantastic, thumbs up, that's where we need to be on the same page. But sometimes if somebody comes in to see us and they've already told themselves that, oh, this mightn't work, then that can be a very strong, powerful suggestion that they're giving themselves.
Yeah.
And especially like here in the work I do, like smoking cessation would be the number one service that I provide here.
Okay.
And so it's really, really so important that I set it up in the right dynamic. And, you know, it's so essential because I know that when they leave here, that the need for a cigarette will be gone. But
Yeah.
do they, you
Yeah.
know, when they're coming in, it's like, it's getting them to believe it. Like once they believe that they can do it, then it's easy.
Yeah. You're halfway there, aren't you? When they believe that they can. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think, you know, that message about we are facilitators of the process, that we're helping you to help yourself kind of thing, is important because ultimately, like, you know, we shouldn't be in an ideal world outsourcing our health to a third party, you know, even us. But you know, we're empowering our clients to make the changes within themselves that's going to change their lives.
Mm.
You know, that's like where it's at with me, rather than, and I spoke about in this podcast before, the old school kind of thinking behind hypnosis, where somebody like looks at it as an easy fix, that, you know, I'm going along to the hypnotist, they're going to tell me, you know, to do something and I'm going to do it, you know, to be looking for a rabbit or barking like a dog or whatever
Yeah.
afterwards. But it is important that, like, yeah, I mean, that can be too, but it's important that they take responsibility as well.
Yeah. That's
Our
really
clients take
important.
responsibility for their own happiness and health.
Yeah. Yeah. And actually, what you were saying there about the clients needing to be ready, you know, when they come
Mm.
in, they have to believe they can do it and want to do it. I had a client who's starting on next week's class, but she rang me up for information on the classes, and I'm chatting to her, and I'll always find out like what exactly do you need, and she told me, and that's it. She wants to change the relationship with food and so on. And I said, right. And she says, but I'm a bit skeptic, and la 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 blah blah blah. I'm thinking I'm still back on skeptic. But I'll come
Yeah.
back to her because you're listening as a hypnotist, you're listening to every word. So anyway, so go back, rewind a wee minute, and go back to that skeptic bit. We're not going forward till you tell me. I said I understand, like there is still skepticism out there about will it work or it's all a pile of nonsense. I said, did you not ring me because someone you know very well lost 50 pounds since in the last, I did a testimonial with it the other day, in 15 weeks, right? There's someone in the class, and I'm not saying that's typical for everybody. I don't make those false promises for everyone, but there's a girl who joined 15 weeks ago and she's 50 pound down, right? And she's telling the world about it. And she
Brilliant.
knows her very well, right? And she's telling me, you know, but yeah, I'm a bit skeptic. I said, what the heck can you be skeptic about? When you see in the flesh, it does work. But I said, if you come into these classes or into anybody's clinic, I said, if you come in with the attitude of, yeah, but I don't think it'll work for me. I said, I'll be the first one to tell you it won't work for you. It will not work. If you believe you can't do something, you can't do it. So change that mindset before you even enroll in the class, because it's a waste of time. So then she came back to that. Oh, I think you're right. And I'm thinking, I know I'm right. but you have to educate. That, I think that's what I'm coming to. You have to educate your client's mind as well. At least she was honest and she said it. We'll get on really well, like, because I know she's going to say whatever's in her mind. But we've got to educate people on what their subconscious mind is all about, and then hypnotize them. Because if you go in cold to it as well, it's kind of 50-50 if they get it. But I'd always, like, remove the fear before you hypnotize anyone. Remove any questions they have. And she didn't really have any. She just didn't have any experience. She said, oh, well, I do acupuncture, and, it's kind of an alternative. And I said, yeah, it is. And, she said, because it's not the typical diet. That's what she said to me, actually, as well. And I said, oh, yeah, but the typical diet, has that worked very well as well? So you start getting them to think for themselves. You're not being cocky about it or rude about it, but she says, like all the conventional ways of losing weight, all my friends would have done that this way or whatever. And I said, yeah, but like, how many of them have lost it, kept it off? Did the conventional dieting world work? And then she's like, oh no, not really. So at that moment, I've educated her subconscious, and now she realizes, okay, let go of the old way, and there might be something to this. So that's where I was going with that, with just educating them on how the mind works. But it's so important that they're 100% there. Like sometimes when someone will say, oh, I don't want you to put me off all chocolate. I will say, will you go and eat as much chocolate as you can? And when you're ready, come back to me. Because it's not one foot in and one foot out. Like, of course, you can reduce significantly. But my goal every time someone comes in is to eliminate. But you can't promise that either, because you don't know how strongly they'll take on the suggestion as well, that they don't like the chocolate or whatever it is, whatever way you're doing it. So yeah, you've got to, and the same with the smokers. Yeah, no, I think I'm ready. Well, thinking's not enough. Thinking I'm ready is not enough. You've got to be 100%. And they think that they are, but they just have to be educated on why they're doing it. Like with, as you're saying, with the smoking, when they understand the science behind what they're doing, then it helps create that attitude change then in the moment when you need it, and telling them that
Absolutely.
I'm not here to be your friend.
Exactly.
As well. Yeah. So
exactly. To get like so many benefits, our clients, like not necessarily just the presenting issue that they come to see us with, like if it's smoking, or to reduce weight or reduce stress, eliminate fear, so on. To me, and I know it's the same with you as well, for my programs, I offer, apart from smoking cessation, which is only one session, but other than that, I offer programs, so they can be 3 to 4 sessions. And over the course of those sessions, I'd be teaching my clients various tools and techniques like self-hypnosis, mindfulness, anchoring, so that ultimately when the program is finished, that they are empowered to continue programming their own minds long after the program is finished. And so it's an education about how their mind works, because in many circumstances our clients won't even know that that it all starts with the thought. So that's something that I always say. I think it's important, because if somebody's in a state of flight or fight, or they're stressed, anxious, worried, and all of that stuff, it's very hard for them to be objective in terms of their own situation. So I'd be encouraging my clients to take a step back, look at the bigger picture. What came first? The thought or the emotion, the feeling? The thoughts always go back to the way you're thinking, what you're telling yourselves, and to establish a more positive pattern of thoughts and thinking. Because I think most people, from my experience, and it's just a part of the society we live in, tend to overthink things. That overthinking part of the mind is kind of always active and turned on, and that can like sabotage people's lives, can't it?
Absolutely, yeah, what you're exposed to. And I suppose years ago, you weren't scrolling on your phone half the day. Not that we're doing that, of course, we're
Yeah,
very busy in the clinic. But
yeah,
like a lot
yeah.
of there's so many external stimulus now. There's so many different ones. So years ago you wouldn't have had that, but now, like, I mean, that's how the marketing world is thriving. Like with the food marketing that I'm always giving out about, the clever food marketing industry, they are throwing stuff at you at the shop. You walk
Yeah,
in February and there's Easter eggs like nearly being thrown at you. Like there's constant stuff coming, and that's constantly programming your mind. But definitely I agree with you there about educating them, and then like after whatever you've done with them, whether it's like emotional release, getting to the root of anxiety, doing
mm,
regression, whatever it is you're doing, you've cleared a lot of stuff, with the anger release and forgiveness as well. You've emptied a lot of the crap out. So it's up to them then to, like, you can put lots of suggestions in the session, but giving them their positive suggestions, MP3, or even just a variety of stuff, or even encouraging them to just even go on YouTube and just download some positive affirmations or whatever it is, because it'll help program instead of going back out into the big bad world again and taking everything on as gospel again. It's amazing when they've been educated, like you and I have as well. We're not as prone to marketing, you would hope, at this stage, but
yeah,
yeah.
brilliant. I had a client actually not too long ago that, what I do as well is I prepare audio recordings and get them to listen to the recordings in between the sessions as part of the program.
Mm.
Those can be very helpful as well.
Yeah.
And I had a client who had a fantastic result in terms of couldn't sleep at night, insomnia, had tried everything, the sleeping tablets, you name it. And all it took was my 15-minute audio recording playing on their phone beside their bed, and they had their first night's sleep in months. So
Mm.
it's great to get that feedback, because it just
Absolutely.
shows you how powerful that the work that we do is, folks. And as I said already, if everyone knew all the benefits that hypnosis could provide, everyone would want it, because there's no side effects, only feeling good, thinking more positively, being your best self, and living a happy and healthy life, without any meds or tablets or other cruxes, even when it comes to the smoking.
Mm.
No e-cigarettes, patches, gums, so on, because to me, that's all. This is my opinion, folks. So, to me, that's not needed. Switching one habit for another.
Yeah.
Why would you do that when you come along to see myself or yourself and quit smoking in 90 minutes without any cravings? Once you approach it, obviously, with the right mindset, and you're at the threshold to do it, that is. But people kind of look at the other alternatives.
Mm.
But
Yeah.
you know,
Is there?
as we were talking about, I mean, over time, I think this is changing.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and like those Nicorette patches and gums and all sorts, there's just so much money being made. First of all, the fact that
Mm,
cigarettes are even legal makes no sense. They even have permission to print on the box, these will kill you, but yet you can buy them. It
yeah.
makes no sense, but there's so much revenue. There's so much money to be made, and that's just the world we live in.
Indeed.
It's sick, but it is the way it is. There's no point in trying to fight that, because we're not going to get anywhere. But then I remember when they brought in the vaping, I remember being in shock because I'd already been hypnotized at this stage, going, they're just shifting the problem. Vaping, I don't know how many years now it's around. Would it be 7 or 8 maybe? I'd take a guess at it. But they've shifted the problem, and we also don't know how much damage is being done by vaping. The same way with years ago
Yeah,
when the cigarettes came in. Like, I don't think
absolutely,
they
indeed.
genuinely knew. I mean, there were plenty of doctors as well smoking as well. Don't think they genuinely knew. It was just a thing. Well, the sheep, like, well, if they're doing it, it must be okay. So we'll do it as well. And then it's the same thing with the vape, but the sickening thing about that is they're targeting such a young audience, and it's horrible. And actually, I'm just thinking about, you know, like when obviously when you start studying hypnosis and you know more about it, you realize, okay, for the children, for the first 7, 8, 9, maybe 10 years of life, their conscious part of the mind hasn't been activated, right? And I know you know this, Trevor, but people listening may not be aware of it
Sure.
unless they've trained yet. So your rational thinking hasn't happened, okay? So you're operating automatically on your subconscious, where all the emotions, the feelings, the habits, the beliefs, protector, all that's in there. So everything that you say to the child, they've no reason to doubt it. And I won't say publicly different things that we tell our kids, right? Because we never want little ears. We don't want it to fall on little ears. But I think we can all read between the lines of things we tell our children. And I just remember, like with my own kids, I've told them very, very openly, and we've known people close in our lives well that have died from smoking. And I have been very blunt with them at the age of 5 and 7, maybe, and said, if you smoke, you die. And I've left it really, really, really blunt like that. If you smoke, you die. And they have taken it on. Now, if they ever light up a cigarette, I'll eat my words, right? But
Yeah.
I just thought they're in that
Brilliant.
programming, they're there. So why not just throw it in? Little things like that are going to benefit their life and the people around them. So smoking kills. But I had to kind of say it to my daughter though, but when we're out in public, don't say anything, because you'd be like, Mom, he's killing himself. Calm.
Yeah.
You don't need to talk about it. But like it registered. And the other one I just thought of there was, they were still, I'd say they were 2 and 4 maybe at the time. And I had them in the shopping trolley, and we're walking up the aisle. I think it was in Dunn's. I can't remember, was it Dunn's or were we in Canada at that stage? I think it was Dunn's, and had the 2 of them in the trolley. And I pointed out all the fizzy drinks along the wall. And I said, you see those? They turn your teeth black. Ew. So from a very young age, and I remember thinking, this is too much fun. But like saying that, my kids, like, there's no such thing as perfect. There's no, and believe me, I wouldn't be modeling your parenting skills on me either. It's not about that, but it's a simple suggestion, going in straight into the subconscious, becoming their blueprint. And how easy is that to get in, but also how easy it is for negative stuff to get in as well. And it just, I suppose that the hypnosis just it blew my mind, how you can just put a suggestion in there and they just take it on.
Yeah.
Great. And to this day, actually, my 8-year-old hasn't had any fizzy drinks, nothing. He's had a bit of my wadi, and he's had was it like a fruit shoot, Ribena kind of thing. He's had that. Now my daughter, on a special occasion, she'll have a 7-Up or a Lucozade, and she'll be like, ooh, but that's it. It's not a thing that's here all the time. And there's still, like, she knows it's not good for her. So as long as she, like anything, I think for any of us, if we take anything in moderation, we'll be all right. So it's just, I just thought of that there now. I'd share it. It's just the power of suggestion. And that's what we're doing in hypnosis. So that's what, so with the kids, their conscious part hasn't been activated. So when you put someone in hypnosis, guide them gently into hypnosis, I should say.
Yeah.
I did say it right. Their conscious part of the mind is being bypassed. So the judgment part, the part that decides whether a suggestion's getting in or not. So that's why the power of suggestion going in there becomes part of the reality. And again, I'm just sharing that for any newcomers to your listeners, if they don't know too much about hypnosis. Clearly you know about this, Trevor. So I'm not saying that. Guess what, Trevor? I'll teach you.
Just a little. But look, it is true. I mean, Rosie, exactly what you're saying. Like, as children are like, their minds are like sponges. They're open to suggestion, and when an authority figure tells them something, they're likely to believe it. And just to be mindful, I suppose, a word of the words that you use to your children. I mean, that's another thing, that you can say the same thing a couple of times in different ways and get a different result, can't you?
Yeah.
So just to be, and that's another thing about what my clients can get from doing the programs with me here, because it does give an insight into the workings of the human mind and the power of words and all of this stuff. But with regards to children, I mean, look, it's funny, and we're just saying it's kind of synchronistic. We were talking to Rosie before we come on, folks, that we both have you two, just two children?
Two, yeah, yeah,
Two. We both
just
have
two.
we both have two children,
Just.
and the same ages, 10 and 8.
Mm.
So that's kind of cool.
Oh
But
yeah. And the other thing too we were going to talk about was and we said we'll talk about it later, was record collection and
oh no, I thought
your
you were going to bring
passion
that up.
for music. We'll
Yeah,
switch the
yeah,
camera now.
exactly.
Yeah, passion for music as well. Because you actually mentioned something about acoustic guitar, and so I'll tell him later. So my daughter's playing about 2 years now. She's playing guitar, and like I taught music for years, can play piano, a number of instruments, but the guitar I never really did. So I'm dabbling in it, dabbling like I wouldn't be playing in public or anything.
Right. You're more of a
But
piano
yeah, and
player.
you're doing the same. Yeah.
Yeah, well, look, it's a result of this podcast, folks, doing it. So we're well into season 2 now, and as you can probably see, I'm a lot more relaxed now in this episode than I was in the very first one. But so one of the things that I always wanted to do was to start up my a new YouTube channel where I focus in on my other passion apart from hypnosis, which is collecting records and music and vinyl. And so just mentioning to Rosie there before we came on live or on air, um, that yeah, I just started the vinyl channel yesterday. And so Emma and Owen, Emma's 10, Owen is 8, and they're very excited about this new channel. And they share the love of music and records the same as me, I suppose, because I play it a lot and they're exposed to this kind of music, and their favorite bands and musicians tend to be the ones that they hear, in the
Yeah.
house.
Programming at its best.
Yeah, Elvis and the Beatles and the Beach Boys, and I'm into kind of old school music, but not only that, like as well. But so it's very exciting to have a new YouTube channel. So the name of the channel is Generation Vinyl Vibes. So folks, check out my new YouTube channel, Generation Vinyl Vibes, and you'll find myself, Emma, and Owen talking all about records and music and vinyl on there. And it's a bit of fun, and we enjoy doing it. So if you want to check that out, it's something that,
Yeah.
yeah. So I was reluctant to do up until lately, because like, oh, do I really want to share this aspect of my life with the world? But then why not? It'll be
Yeah.
fun. So
Life's
yeah,
too short. Life's too
life's
short.
too short, and
Yeah.
for worrying about what people think, who cares? So, and it's the
Mm.
same as this podcast now, actually. I'm really absorbed in the conversation I'm having with you. I'm enjoying all of the discussions and the chats I have with the guests that come onto the podcast, and
Yeah.
really, really
Great.
enjoying and being inspired by those conversations. So once I'm enjoying them, and I'm sure that comes across, folks, and I hope you're enjoying them as well. And so, I mean, so like you're never going to be bored talking about the kind of topics and subjects that we're talking about, hypnosis being one of them. And one thing about hypnosis, I mean, and you've mentioned already that you love it, it's not like a job to us. I know I'm the same. But getting into the more specific work that you do, Rosie, what services would be the main ones you would provide in terms of the help that you offer?
The main thing that I would specialize in, so I own the weight loss clinic, and what I do is I run these 6-week classes on Zoom. So I would have
Right.
quite a large number now of people who would come on the program for 6 weeks. And I mean, I'm not a nutritionist, nor have I much interest in becoming one either. Like we all know, if we eat
Yeah,
less,
yeah.
move more, drink water, and eat, the foods that are designed for our body, our fruits and our veg, our lean meats, whatever, we know if we do that, will lose weight and will maintain that weight loss. So I'm not into all the other depriving methods. So basically what they would do, they would come for 6 weeks, and then we'd meet every Wednesday night, and they would hold themselves accountable as well. They would send me an update on how they're getting on every week. Some people might do it on a daily basis. Like, I know today is Wednesday and I have my phone turned upside down because it's just pinging every day, or every Wednesday especially, and for those that give the weekly updates. And basically what I'm doing is I am bringing them into hypnosis and helping them change their attitude towards food, so you're changing their relationship with food so that the cravings go, when they change their attitude towards sugary foods and fatty foods, their new reality then that's programmed in the subconscious is that they don't want them. So that's where, like the same way with the cigarettes, when you change how you feel towards the nicotine, you come out of hypnosis and you don't want it. So it's that same idea. And I have a clinic here in Dublin in Cabinteely, and I see people on a one-to-one basis there as well. Like tomorrow morning, I have a lady coming in. She'll do an hour consultation with me, followed by 2 hours. It'll probably be an anger release and forgiveness session, probably, because a lot of the time that's the first thing I do. Clear out all the muck first before you start programming. She does have anxiety as well, so we'll probably leave that to session 2. And then we'll do a 3rd session with her, and she has weight to lose as well. But sometimes I might offer them, to come on the class then, or they can do the one-to-one as well. But getting to the root cause of it, once they've more than 3 or 4 stone to lose, I'll always say to them up front, well, there is a chance that you're going to need to do some one-to-one work to get to the root of that. The class doesn't dive into the personal. You're not going to be regressing a whole class. It makes no sense to do that because they're all in different places. But, when you can help them, I do the anger release forgiveness in my classes on week 4, and that can be really, really strong. And yeah, I can talk about that another time, but that's the main thing that I work on is, like, I suppose a demographic of who I'm helping between 35 and 65, mainly women, but it's not limited to women. Okay, we might talk about hormones or the cycle once or twice throughout the class, on a conscious level before they go into hypnosis, but there's no, it's not gender specific. So, yeah, that's the main people that I would help.
Excellent stuff. Excellent. So, Rosie, it's been fantastic having you on the Power Within podcast. I've really enjoyed the conversation, and hence why the time has flown amazingly by so quick. So before you say goodbye, have you any words of wisdom you'd like to share with myself and my listeners today?
Words of wisdom. I think even at the start when you said life is for living today, it seems to be something that I always put at the end of my emails, and I really mean that. It's not this corny thing where you look up what's the best way to end something. I genuinely mean that. Life is so short, and I know for myself, if I never got hypnotized, my life would be very, very different now. I don't know what quality of life I would have, to be honest. And it was from getting hypnotized, getting to the root cause of why I wasn't feeling good enough, so that I could reprogram and feel better and get on with life. And really simple. So a message, if I was to give a message to anyone, it'd be, what have you got to lose? Give it a go, and it might change your life. That would be it, really, because it was chapter 2 for me when I got to the root cause of any of my nonsense that I was telling myself. That was chapter 2, and that's what I say to my clients as well. It's, if when they come in, give me 100%. I'll give 100, you give 100, and you could be hitting your chapter 2 as well, because we've been there.
Yeah, excellent stuff. Rosie, thanks very much for coming on. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you. I really enjoyed that now. Thanks a million.
And I've really enjoyed it as well. It's been a great discussion. And folks, I hope you've enjoyed it as well. Rosie, best of luck with everything. Keep up the great work, and so we'll be in touch. And I'm sure we'll connect in again some point soon. Maybe, perhaps, I don't know if you're going to the Irish Hypnotherapy Conference
Oh yes.
in
Yeah,
April
that's
this
not
year.
long. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
so that's a
Well,
plug for the conference. I think it's April 20th, 21st
yeah,
this year. It's in Dublin.
yeah,
And that's the conference John Scallon is organised. He organised the first of its kind in Ireland last May.
yeah.
And
That
this
was
is
fantastic,
yeah,
wasn't
it
it?
was. We
Yeah,
both
so much
wrote,
fun.
it was, yeah, it
Yeah,
was
yeah,
amazing. Really enjoyed it. And it can, like, it's a life changer as
mm,
well. We've used that term already, but so check out John's conference. It's on the 20th and 21st of April. I'll post a link in the description for this podcast as well. So there's a plug for the conference. But Rosie, until next time, be good to yourself, and we'll be in touch.
thanks a million. All right,
Great
mind
stuff.
yourself. See you in April.
Great stuff. See you, Rosie. Take care.
Bye.
So, folks, that was Rosie Callaghan. What a fantastic person, human being, and a fantastic hypnotist. And hope you've enjoyed our conversation here today on the Power Within podcast. My name is Trevor Evers. I'm your host. And until next time, on the next episode of the Power Within podcast, be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and take care. We see you on the next episode of the podcast.